Welcome to the Happy Doc. My name is Taylor Brana, a fourth-year medical student and your host. This show is inspired by a simple idea. I think we all have the human capability of being happy in any field of work we are passionate about. Specifically in the world of medicine, there's a growing idea that medicine isn't what it used to be, that there is less and less joy in the practice of this beautiful field whose goal is to help others. As a medical student, I refuse to believe my future as a doctor is mediocre at best. With this mindset, I have launched the Happy Doc, an audio series where I will interview current happy practicing physicians to find out their journey, their tips and tricks, their mindset, and much more to find out what has allowed them to succeed in such a demanding field. Please get your weekly dose of the Happy Doc and gain insight, tools, and strategies to cultivate your inner happiness. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and Happy New Year. I'm very excited to introduce the next guest to the Happy Doc website for Medical Student Month. She is a true pleasure to interview. Her energy and positivity is infectious, and I really want you to listen into this one. She's a unique medical student as she hasn't even started medical school yet, taking a defer year, but she's already created a tremendous following, recently amassing 1.2 million views from her latest YouTube video. This medical student is already on a path to healing the world through her creative work before even starting medical school. She is a true inspiration for all students. So listen in, this is going to be a good one. I am extremely excited to welcome our next guest. This is the Medical Student Special, but even more so, it's a very unique circumstance of the medical student. We'll kind of dig into that and explain that a little bit more. But yeah, today I have Jamie Katuna. She is a medical student, and I'll have Jamie say hello and introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Jamie. Thanks for having me on. I played college basketball at UC San Diego. Well, first at University of San Francisco, and then I transferred. And I'm currently in my defer year, so I got accepted to Touro University College of Osteopathic Medicine, where I'm going to do the MPH and DO program, dual degree, but I got a year off right now. So right now I'm about halfway through taking a year before I start my formal medical education.
Awesome. So Jamie, welcome.
Thanks.
And again, it's kind of a unique, situation because I don't normally hear someone have a defer year.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like what a lot of people do is, if they might apply and if they don't get in, then take that year off, or just decide to take a year off before they apply for the first time. So they're kind of in an unsure mode of not really knowing what's going to happen next. For me, it feels really comfortable sort of because I am sure what is coming next. So I get to really dive into whatever I want to do this whole year off,
Yeah. So explain to me, how did you kind of come about this idea of wanting to take a year off? Like, why did you even decide to do that in the first place?
Yeah. So college basketball is a lot with being a full-time student, plus doing internships and stuff like that to, boost my med application. And then I got the coolest opportunity. A group of surgeons and an anesthesiologist and some nurses go to Tanzania twice a year, every year, to work at hospitals and do reconstructive surgery and stuff like that. Wow. And I was invited on that trip, which was this last September and October. And I said, I have to go. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. I have to see what's happening here. And I contacted my future school, and I think they thought that was a great opportunity for me as well. So I basically got a whole year off because of this thing that I did for a month, which now means that that I'm spending the rest of the 11 months finding a way to continue learning and being creative and stuff like that. But the whole defer year came from a sort of needing maybe some time off from doing college basketball and all that stuff and being busy, and then having this opportunity came up, and it felt like it couldn't be more perfect. I had to do it.
Yeah. So first off, that experience sounds awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm sure it felt like this is like something you had to do.
Yeah.
And how did you work that out with the school?
They were great about it. I told them that I had that opportunity, and I think every school has a different policy, but Toro said submit like a like a formal request, kind of like laying out what I'll be doing and laying out what my opportunities are and stuff like that, which I did, and they granted it. So I didn't have much pushback from trying to get that deferred year. I think they want to kind of take care of their students. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like if I did need a year off, I think they'd like to support me in that measure. And for them, I guess all it means is I'll be graduating in 2021 instead of 2020. You know, it's not much of a difference.
Yeah, and I want the medical students, like PreMeds and the medical students especially listening, to hear the fact that, you know, you do not, like, everyone thinks that we have to complete things in a very linear way.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And we don't have to do that. You know, we can choose to, you know, like Jamie had this experience come up, and she was like, well, I want to go to med school, but I also want to do this, and we can make it happen, but we have to be creative.
Right.
And you went for it, which is totally awesome.
Oh my gosh, I know. I think I was sort of like seeing that, or I saw that precedent. I have my old strength and conditioning coach who now goes to Toro as well. You know, he was a coach for a while and coached track and then college strength and conditioning, and then decided to go to med school too. So he took like 10 years off, you know, well, not off really, but 10 years in between. Both my parents are also physicians who took time off in between. So it seems like, yeah, it's like we're given these messages that it's like you have to complete undergrad, apply to med school as your junior year so you can get right into med school, complete that, you know, just like as if it is a linear path. But I think there are so many unique and variable paths that people can take if they want them. You know, it's sort of like create your own experience type thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that I think actually anyone at any stage of their development in their career should hear that, because, you know, if you want to go for something, you have to go for it, especially if, like, you know, it's right in your heart. And when we don't do that, we're just kind of giving up on these goals and aspirations and dreams. So
right.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear someone who's just doing that actively right now.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. You're right. Like med school will always be there. You know what I mean? It'll always be an opportunity. So if there is a once in a lifetime thing that comes up, or a way that personal growth that might not be the quote unquote traditional way, yeah, I agree with you. Totally encourage people to take that.
Yeah, awesome. So let's take a step back here. Why did you decide you wanted to go to medical school?
That's a good question. So both my parents are physicians, but they both do sort of non-traditional things with their medical degree. My dad created this business of with neuro-intraoperative monitoring, which I don't need to get into. And my mom does like leadership consulting for companies and hospitals, mostly healthcare based. But I got to bear witness to a way that a medical degree opens doors to impact more, kind of, you know, it's not just, to me, it felt like, I saw the way it's a really good means to create a lot of change. It's like a method how to do that. And then when I got into college, I realized I'm borderline obsessed with like health and fitness and helping and that type of thing. So then with those both of those experiences, it was just like this, of course I want to pursue medicine, you know.
Awesome. And again, that's another huge thing is Jamie just said, like, she was like borderline obsessed about learning about health. And for the pre-meds who are obsessed about health and learning, nutrition and exercise and looking at journals and all those things, when you're naturally gravitating towards that thing, like, that means you have to do it.
Right.
And that's why Jamie is happy. Like, that's
cool. That's a good point.
Yeah. And the reason I'm saying this is because there's people that don't feel that way.
Absolutely. We've seen them. Oh, yes. We've all seen them. Of just sort of like, well, like, I want to make a living or something like that, you know, where it's not the passion, but it feels like the necessary path or something like that.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
exactly. It feels necessary instead of what you truly want to do. And that's extremely important because if something feels necessary but you don't actually want to do it, and then you work through several years, you're spending years of doing this. So
Right.
like it'll just like slowly like degrade your spirit, so to speak.
Totally. Like, at what point in your life are you going to decide you want to do what you want to do? You know what I mean? What you really want
Hmm.
to do. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, how did you get, kind of your inspiration for your, actually, before we say that, what are your current projects? What are you doing? What are you working on?
Okay, so I'm doing medically based topics. So things like burnout in physicians and med students, and the ACGME report on the intern hours, or what else? Gun silence in healthcare, kind of limiting the way physicians are allowed to talk about guns and how we're allowed to research them, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
In through spoken word, and more recently rap. So what I'm trying to do is create healthcare topics on an accessible platform. So even people who aren't necessarily in the healthcare system or care about medicine or whatever can listen to these if they're entertaining enough and maybe get the message from it and learn something. So that's the goal, is healthcare ideas on an accessible platform currently.
Yeah, and again, you aren't in medical school. You are, but you're not in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you're not a resident. You're not a physician,
Right.
but you're already creating change through your opinions and your voice and your learning. And the other beautiful thing is you're combining that with art.
Right. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, someone told me that too, that piece of feedback, that I'm creating something that is usually approached with calculated thought in an artistic way. And I think that sort of clash of paradigms is what makes it accessible to people somehow, or at least makes it interesting, Like, they're not used to hearing songs or poems about ACGME reports or something like that. But I think
Exactly.
that's kind of what's fun about it. That's why it feels like a challenge, sort of. It's like, how do you really get this information away from obscure medical journals that the mainstream isn't going to read, and into the news feeds of people who are affected by the healthcare system but aren't necessarily in it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I have no comments there. Like yes, yes. Um, and the other thing is to extrapolate on what you said, like advice to pre-meds, medical students, whomever, take what you love and combine it with the information you're learning. So Jamie's taking her love for medicine and health and combining it with spoken word and poetry. Like, you could do that with anything. So like, just to extrapolate, like, Jamie is doing this, but you can create anything from what you love and combine it. So
Yeah,
that's,
that is.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to tell a story about that.
Yeah, go. Yeah. This is your
So
interview.
I was at a holiday party like 2 weeks ago or something, and just sort of started up conversation with a 15-year-old girl who I know, that I'll keep unnamed, and her dreams are to be a plastic surgeon. And so she was telling me how she's going about it and whatever, and told me that, so she's 15, she's a sophomore in high school, and said that she's
Yeah.
already cut out extracurriculars from her life because she wants to focus on grades and academics and maybe getting an internship once she gets into college. And I could not, it was almost painful to me. It's like, she's an excellent writer, she's an excellent student. Like, I wanted to tell her, like, please, please, please keep all of your creative endeavors in your life. Like, keep exploring stuff, keep learning stuff. Like, you're a good student. You'll always be a good student. Everyone who applies to med school is a good student. That's not the skills that you need to hone in on, of getting good grades. It's all this other stuff of how, like, what else can you bring to the table and what else makes you unique, I think there is
Yeah.
such this force in medicine to push people away from creativity and, like, away from what they love, and just say, nope, we're going to study and academic and that's it, and research and that type of thing, and I think it's kind of harmful. And then I also think it like demeans all these brilliant people with these awesome gifts of music and whatever else, whatever creative things, writing even. This girl was an awesome writer. And
Yeah.
it pulls people away from that, when I think we need to move towards that and just see how we can blend them together.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
I know, sorry, I'm ranting now.
No, that's not. No, yeah, this is really good information. I'm
Cool.
like literally smiling because what you're saying is what a lot of people know, but they don't do.
Huh, that's cool. Yeah.
And you can feel I can feel the difference, and the I can feel the smile and the joy in your speech because you're doing what you love. And when you do that, the energy comes, and you're very energetic,
Right.
and we all were at some point, and then you get sapped when you're doing things you don't love.
Right. Right.
So yeah, this is like, yeah, it's just great to hear, your joy.
Cool.
So let me ask you, what is your vision in medicine? What do you hope to create with the work you're doing?
Nice. Okay, so I guess short answer, and that's not very informative, is just the best case scenario. And then long answer might be that, like you said, like I haven't started medical school yet. So I think there's a lot of details and stuff that if I tried to bring it up, you could stump me on some follow-up questions or something like that.
Sure.
So I don't really, I guess I care about, physicians leading patient-centered care, more holistic care, less tertiary stuff, more primary and preventive. I want to get the master's in public health, so I want to see what the physician's role in policy and legislation and city planning is and stuff like that. But as far as what I want to create the best case scenario. And to be honest, I don't know what that is yet. All I know is that, I'm taking it day by day and project by project to learn about new stuff and try to dive into things that I've never learned about before to see like what would the ultimate vision be for that specific niche,
Yeah, yeah. So you want to optimize whatever you're working in, and
Totally.
you're not exactly sure what that might be yet because you're not in it, but I gotcha.
Right.
Awesome. So what have you heard about medical culture so far? What are you, even though you're not in it yet, what are you
Right.
hearing?
Just that it's draining and demeaning, and it's a hierarchy where med students are told like, no, we're the change that's gonna happen, but then we're also at the bottom of the totem pole, so don't speak up. And burnout is a enormous issue, and even that term is a words of abuse, sort of.
Yeah, sure.
And there's a suicide epidemic within physicians and med students, so it just seems unhealthy. Like the healthcare system, education and the healthcare system is unhealthy, which is a paradox.
Right. And yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So why, no, I won't dig into that specifically, but so how do you think, you're coming in with all of this energy, you're working on your stuff that you love, you have this time off right now. How are you going to protect yourself jumping into an environment like that?
I know. I think I'm lucky in who I have as mentors. Like, Dr. Pamela Weibull. So just having all of her teachings instilled in me ahead of time, I think will be really helpful. Also Z-Dog, also a lot of people who are reaching out to me in light of all these videos who just want to help and kind of get on board. It's been awesome. And then the other thing, as far as like staying energized, I think it's exactly like you said it was. Like these videos and these projects energize me. Like they don't feel like work, like, oh, I gotta write again or I gotta make that video. It's almost like this is exactly what I want to be doing. So even with academics and whatever, in my quote unquote downtime, this is the stuff that I want to be doing anyway. This does bring me energy. So I'm hoping it just sort of sustains itself. If I don't feel like I have to do it or like I need to, but if I just like want to because I love it, that's a self-sustaining thing.
Exactly. And there is, I forgot who I'm quoting this from, but there was this quote and it really like made so much sense to me. And it was like, if something, when you're about to go do something, if it pushes you away, like if you're feeling resistance by doing that thing, that like means that it's draining by nature.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas if you feel pulled to something, like it's calling you, then it's actually energizing you when you go towards it.
I love that concept. That's absolutely right. You're so right.
So by nature, and again, I can talk, the reason I'm a happy medical student, even though I've kind of fallen into all this stuff already, is because I'm being pulled by these projects of helping people.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Which is just such a case study in itself, of diving into your own creative stuff and your own projects.
Right.
It's healthy. It's like so good for people to do that.
Exactly. And that's, and we're not going to get too into this, but yeah, that's the point is to find what pulls us.
Yeah.
So what would you tell a younger you about the journey and how to get started?
Man, I was so lucky, with parents as physicians. So they would read the medical journals and rip out the interesting articles to show me. So I just got to cherry pick all that. So I got lucky because I was younger me, maybe to embrace the creative side of me sooner, because I think I've kind of fell victim to that mindset of just make sure my application for medical school looks good. It's like I had basketball and my grades were good and I did an internship that I volunteered for and stuff like that, which is, it's just like, I wasn't really excited about a lot of the stuff that I was doing. It just felt necessary. It would be doing stuff like this, like really dive deep down inside and say like, what makes me excited? What am I good at? Like, what do I love to do? And it's stuff like this. It's these weird creative projects that are fun to make and fun to edit, so that I think that would be messages to the younger me.
Sure. And that's great. And that just doesn't, it doesn't just apply to you. We can dive into creativity with anyone can do that,
Totally.
And so the one thing that I think stops people, and I think maybe you can talk about it, is fear.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God, totally. It's like, right, like what if I look stupid, or what if people don't like it, or whatever. But I think the thing about finding the thing that you actually love is that stuff stops mattering. You know what I mean? Like if I'm kind of doing something because I think other people are going to like it, but I don't really like it, then fear plays a role in that. But if it's just completely self-sustaining and it's self-energizing, it's impervious to outside perception. You know what I mean?
Sure.
My sister is the most brilliant person ever. And so she has a really popular blog, Katuna.com, if I need to make the plug. But
yeah, that's first, fine. Yeah.
Her first, or one of her articles is called Just Effing Start, and not she says the word, but
yeah.
And it talks about this in a sense of like, don't be prepared, don't be ready, just do it, And with the very first video that I did, it was like that too. Like it was totally underproduced. I just read off my phone into the camera. Like visually it looks poor. It doesn't look that great, but I was excited to do it. I didn't care how people liked it. I tried to just play away from fear. It was only the way that I wanted to do it. And just by starting, just by putting it out there, by letting it be fulfilling for myself, it had amazing impacts. Like it's such, I don't know, it feels so, it feels so good to do something like that. You know what I mean? And fear, it just doesn't even come into the consciousness when you're so in alignment with the thing that you want to be doing.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree with what you said. I think with med students, a big thing that happens as you go through the process is you start becoming afraid of your own voice. Because when you speak, you're coming into this world of very intelligent people. And when you say something wrong, people will be like, no, actually it's this. So I think people get afraid of making mistakes. So that kind of stifles the creative process of making mistakes and creating your visions. So what do you think about the idea of creating something and knowing in the back of your mind that there's going to be certain people that just don't like what you're doing?
I think that, if you look at the silver lining with that, it's like at least for me, I'm creating dialogue. So if someone does see my video and they hate it, then it's like, that's great, because now I get to talk about it with someone who has a different perspective and different viewpoints, different life experiences than I have, and I get to learn something.
Right.
But it is, like you said, like it is different what I've heard from medicine in that there is a right and a wrong answer. You know what I mean? You can just be
Sure.
told, nope, you're wrong, and that's it. Whereas mine is more discussion based and disagreements and opinions and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. I think with the mentors that I've had and the, parents and Pamela Weibull and some others, I discuss some of this stuff before I release it. So I kind of want to get a feel for the opinions within medicine, so that I'm not just sounding super naive or ignorant. Like, I do want to make an informed argument, but then yeah, once I do, then it's out there and then it's totally up for criticism and debate, which is part of being vulnerable and courageous. It's like putting my stuff out there and saying, critique it if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there's a couple of things you said in there that I want to really highlight. Mm-hmm. One was mentorship.
Oh my gosh.
Which is huge.
Yep.
Okay. When you're floating in this big bubble of, the world, and you want to do something, it's cool that you want to do it, but like, who's already doing it, right? Like with this podcast, I listen to so many podcasts that I already had an idea of how I was going to structure it.
Yeah.
And even though they're not physically, these people I listen to are not physically my mentors, mm-hmm. they are my mentors in that I know that this worked because it got me.
Right. Yes, you're studying what works. Yes.
Exactly. And then number two is the literal mentors you can speak to mm-hmm. prior to releasing stuff or prior to like showing this thing off to the world. So you're getting that feedback. And if like one person likes it, there's going to be way more people that like it.
Right, that at least the message resonates with somebody.
With someone.
Right.
And more often than not, we're, as humans, we have more things in common than we think we do.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I love that. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, you're absolutely right about studying what works. And it sort of like comes with doing the thing that you want to do. You know what I mean? Like you with podcasts, me with these medical ideas and whatever, making arguments. It's like we already were sort of in the world of that because we were so obsessed with it, We loved it. And then, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. You might have to edit this out. I was going to say...
No, I'm keeping this in.
No.
This is human interaction.
Oh, I was going to say, so like one of my most popular videos was about burnout. It was my second one, and it talked about how that term is even abusive in itself and how sort of the administration's role, it kind of talks, it's pretty brutal to administration or whatever. And the feedback I got from that was astounding in how many people it did resonate with. You know what I mean? And mm-hmm. I didn't really know. That was my second video. Yeah. But the views and the comments and the messages I've got of people saying like, this is exactly what I've been trying to say for 30 years or something like that. Sure. And it's like, holy cow. So people really got that. And the only way to find that out, and this kind of goes back to the fear thing, is just by doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing it first, finding out after.
Yeah, sure. And there's also this other part, which is, and we don't have to get too deep into this, but the acceptance that you could fail.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of feel like I almost did with one of them, but it was like the biggest learning experience ever. It's kind of like if you're not failing, you're not learning. The video I did on the free speech around guns within medicine and around research in medicine, I got so much feedback from that, from people more on the right side, more pro-gun people.
Yes.
Just hating it, like almost calling me names even, or a physician who runs like Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership reached out to me and just saying that I'm clueless and stuff like that, which is, sure. I guess I could chalk that up to like a failure. Like I missed a mark with at least 50% of the people, but it kind of feels good to like have that argument and like have that, not argument, but debate and discussion with people. Cause how else would I learn that that's a really widespread perception?
Yeah, for sure. And then and the other beautiful thing about that, honestly, is the fact that like saying things that are controversial doesn't mean it's a bad thing to say.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
actually, honestly, the controversial stuff is what we should be talking about, because
Yeah.
that's like what we're working on as a society, and like learning. And the reason it's controversial is because like there's one set of knowledge on one hand and the other set of knowledge on the other hand, and where do we meet?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like, how do we facilitate that discussion? How do we bridge the gap? Yeah, you're right. So maybe the whole failure part then is just how people perceive failure. So what some people might call that a failure of mine, and you might call that one of my biggest successes, you know?
Yeah.
It's perception.
I would say that actually of your videos, that's probably the most successful because it pissed people off.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
That's really cool.
And it's funny, right? Because when someone creates an emotion in someone, like when you actually rile someone up, the funny part is, even though you piss those people off, they're thinking about your video.
Yes, this is a good point. I needed to hear this.
Right. Well, they're thinking about it, right? Because
Yeah.
you got them emotionally responding to it. So really you're just feeding. Anyways, yeah, let's get back to some other stuff. But yeah, so that's not a failure at all. And that's another thing we can change in medical culture is this shift in what we think about failure.
Totally.
Like what's happening is you're getting these super type A people, extremely smart, and all of a sudden it's hard. And they're like, what happened? I was so successful and now I'm failing, or I'm not feeling as strong about it. But if you take that and you use it as fuel and you be like, you know what, I'm excited I don't know things. Let's learn more.
Yes.
And you shift the dialogue in your mind, then things start moving. So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's exactly right.
so I kind of already asked you this question, but maybe you can like think about it a little bit differently, is what message do you have to the younger pre-meds who are still in college, trying to enter into the medical school field, and to the early medical students that are listening?
So to pre-meds, and I think we both kind of talked on this, I would want to talk to them and really dive into seeing if this is what they love. You know, not like what they think they should do or what they think will bring them high status or pay, but like if this is what they love. And then if yes, then to understand that everyone applying has good grades, everyone has a volunteer experience, but what else can you bring to the table? What's unique? How are you going to impact change? What creative projects do you like to get into? That type of thing. I think that gets so pushed to the back burner within medicine. And I mean, if I was like the master ruler of U.S. healthcare, that's the type of people that I would want to recruit. You know, people who have a capacity to change stuff and be creative. And you know, like if you want to recreate the healthcare system, you need creativity. You need people who want to create new things. You know, I think that's a personality trait that can be undervalued within medicine. And then I guess to early medical students, I don't know. It almost feels like, since it is such a hierarchical system, that's like me giving advice upwards a little bit, you know?
Sure.
Like I'm not allowed to do that.
I think you are.
Yeah.
I want you to just put yourself in the shoes of someone who's super happy and then all of a sudden is being told like you don't have time for the things you love, and you're kind of stuck in class all day, and it kind of feels demoralizing. Like what do you like, how do you like shift that mindset, or what are you going to be? Yeah. What dialogue could you say then?
Okay. So then I guess it's the mindset, and this is just like how we talked about, like what's a failure and what's a success. So like what's a roadblock and what's an opportunity, you know what I mean? So as far as like medical school feels demoralizing and tough and whatever, instead of being overcome by that and saying, well, that's it. Like, I can't handle this. I'm not good enough for the system. It's like, no, like, look at the way that the system is faulty, and be an agent for change within that. Get involved in school leadership, or step outside and do something creative like you and I are doing, like see the problem. And if you're in the place that you love, if this is exactly the thing that you want to do, then like you owe it to healthcare to impact change in this way,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And I hope and I feel that you're going to be able to personally keep that energy with you as you move forward.
Thanks.
So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
so it's awesome.
Thanks.
How would you tell someone to start working on their vision?
Cool. I would ask people what they do when they don't think anyone's going to see it, Some people sing in the shower, and some people write in their journals and draw or make graphic design or write or read novels and want to create something like that. And that's the passion, that's the thing that drives people, the things that they love. And then it would be honing in on that and just effing starting, like my sister would say. Find the thing first, identify it, see what you love, and then create. And I don't think I can give guidelines for creation, and that's what's so cool about it, is that it's so unique and individualized. But that everyone has their own weird thing that they love and that they're not supposed to do, quote unquote, in medicine, But I think that's the exact thing that people need to be doing more of.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. That answer was beautiful. I don't think I could do much better than that.
Oh, thanks. And sorry. And then just the part of like being okay with not being ready, Don't be ready. Don't be prepared. Just start it and take the first step. I think I heard a cool quote about like when you're getting navigation guidelines from Google Maps or whatever, you don't get the next step until you take the first step, like you don't get the next set of directions until you make that first turn you see what I'm saying? So it's like you do have to make the first step in order to keep going. You don't need to see the entire picture of what's happening before you can start. I had no idea what this was going to turn into when I made my first video, but all I had to do was start it.
Yeah. And it's right. Like you're not like this great like ruler or godlike figure that knows what's going to happen.
Right.
You just have to try, and then you'll gain inspiration, but you just have to try. So
totally.
Yeah, so that's great. How would you imagine the perfect or ideal medical school training?
Oh my gosh, it would be so centered on students and individualized students, and it would teach entrepreneurship within medicine and how the degree can just be like a catapult into something even bigger and better, and it would teach leadership, and it would promote creativity. I think medicine should be hard. It's a tough thing to learn. You have a lot of responsibilities, but it doesn't need to come with the frustrations and the bullying and the hazing and stuff like that. Like stuff can be hard and fulfilling at the same time. Like I think of college basketball, and it was hard, and we're doing sprints, but it's sort of like we're all in this together, and we're building something, and we're winning, and it's, that type of thing. I would like to create a medical culture where it feels like that, and it doesn't feel like competition and hazing and like you're never going to be able to make a decision, but it feels like teamwork and collaboration and entrepreneurship and leadership along with the studying and academics.
Sure. Yeah. I completely agree. And I want you to be in medicine and medical school so you can feel the palpable difference between what you just said and what you're going to feel.
Wow.
And it's actually perfect. This is the thing that I am fueled by, is there are certain aspects of medicine currently which I dislike so much, incredibly so, and we're not going to talk about it. But there's certain aspects that make me feel terrible, but it's the best thing I can receive because it means that the thing I need to work on is so much more powerful.
Yes, that's absolutely it. And the way that you
So,
just
yeah.
reframe it. You look at a hard system like that, or like you look at a challenge and you think, this is perfect for me. You know what I mean? That is a really unique mindset that I think we need a lot more of.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Wait, you want to start interviewing me?
Yeah.
Is that that's awesome. So, what is happiness to you?
That's cool. Fulfillment, helping other people, doing what you love. Those
Boom.
three. Yep.
Put it on a billboard.
Yep.
What is the best advice you've received from a mentor?
Okay, this is cool. So it might not be the best, but it's the most recent, and I screenshotted it. And
Sure.
I'm looking at my phone now. I'm going to read it to you. So this is
Yeah.
from a physician who is writing a book on OI. I think it's osteogenesis imperfecta, brittle bone syndrome.
Yep.
And he told me, okay, I'm reading now. Don't worry about sounding too idealistic or dumb. I'll give you honest feedback. Stick to what you're doing. You are going to be a voice of your millennial physicians. And while older generations can be cynical, dismissive, patronizing, don't let it distract you from your focus and why you are doing this. Your generation is going to be the one that transforms healthcare because it has no other choice.
I really like that.
I love that, right? It's like, and it's so accurate. And so just to see that as millennials of really being the difference here, like we are going to be the change agents, and it's up to us.
Yeah.
These efforts that we're doing right now, even you and me talking on this podcast, this is not futile, like we are going to make the difference because we don't have another choice. We're reaching such a brink of catastrophic healthcare that we have to be the ones. The timing works out, so we are going to be the ones that change it.
Absolutely. And I think this is a big thing I feel the need to share is we often in our society base our leaders off of age and experience. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that the truth is the truth.
Yeah.
So whether I'm hearing the truth from a 7-year-old or I'm hearing it from a 53-year-old, it's the truth.
Right.
And it is I have to say that no matter where you are in your position, you have to humble yourself and know that you do not know everything, mm-hmm. and that there's always something to learn. And when us young folks are talking and having this discussion about where we need to make changes, like you old folks, sorry to use that term, but when not to say that I perceive that age is about young and old or whatever, so to speak.
I got it.
Take listen to these younger kids that are speaking truth and want to make change, mm-hmm. and so constantly being humble, no matter what position, is a really important skill. So
that's absolutely right. So true.
Yeah. So and that was great advice from the mentor, and like
totally.
A really good spinoff. Do you have any favorite books, authors, bloggers, materials, or information that you want people to listen to and that have inspired you and have had a great effect on you?
So I think the obvious one, obvious because both you and I know her, is Dr. Pamela Weibull. Mm-hmm. She is just such a positive voice for change, and she's awesome. The other one who's both entertaining and really informative is he goes by ZDog MD. I think his name is Zubin Damania, maybe. And he's got really great ideas. He had an awesome TED Talk where he kind of talks about this new version of healthcare. He does parodies, rap, you know what I mean?
Yep. I'm familiar with him, so.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And then there's other physicians too, like Dr. Mark Shapiro. He does the Explore the Space podcast, or Dr. Patty Barrett does the Dr. Paradox. I'm trying to think what else. There's that sort of like silly but informative show. He does little videos called Dr. I Am Sorry.
Okay.
Have you heard of that? It's pretty funny.
No.
The acting can be painful, but the message that they're getting across is pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess for people who haven't read or heard from Dr. Pamela Weibull, I think that is such a good place to start. Really like creating her own vision within healthcare and is doing it so well and so impactfully.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know for a fact from my experience, I reached out to her, and I wasn't expecting to get a reply right away, and I told you this earlier, but she literally called me. She didn't. I sent her an email, and then she called me the next day and spoke to me for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, she's
And
amazing.
I can't think of any physician in the current practice and the way they do things that just has the time to do that.
Right. And to me, that's such an example of someone who has found the exact thing that they love. It's like they don't need to make time for it. They're just in it. They're doing the thing. And it's
Exactly.
so, every moment of her life is working towards this. So she didn't have to make time for a phone call with you. That's just exactly in alignment with her vision. So she found
Yes.
it. That's such a good example for everyone to see, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just her, and that's the point of this podcast is like bringing in this happy energy in a world that doesn't feel so happy.
Totally. Yeah.
I think did you ever have a feeling, I wrote this question out, but I don't know if this might pertain to you. Did you ever feel like at some point during, your high school, college, and like medical school training, like going into medical school, did you ever feel like something was off and that you needed to change? Was there ever a time of like true conflict that kind of disturbed you, but through it you grew as a person?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you're not talking about like just as far as pursuing medicine, but just sort of any experience.
No, like a
Yeah.
growing
Oh
experience.
my, okay. So I broke my left foot 3 times in college basketball,
Wow.
and it was back to back to back too. So I sat out for a total of about a year and a half, which in playing college sports, when you're sidelined like that and the team is all working towards stuff and traveling and you're not going on the trips and stuff, and the team, like my whole friend circle was my team. So it's just a complete alienation. And what I tried to do the first time I broke it, I tried to come back too soon, running on it, kind of being dumb about it, and re-broke it because I tried to come back too fast. It wasn't healed. And then,
Right.
so that experience sort of, like what I value, like taking it slow before I can take it fast, like healing myself before I get back into the thing, into
Sure.
basketball was like kind of huge for me, like learning that lesson of really taking care of my body and then sort of becoming the teammate that I became from sitting on the sidelines for that long, of just like diving into this new role of support, instead of action. I'm only supporting people, of learning the game more because I had to watch it instead of play it.
Yeah.
That it showed me that opportunity that lesson of there's an opportunity in every challenge. It's like I think I could have pouted and just been disengaged and not learned anything from it, but that was one of the most impactful experiences for me. And I think after that I was the best teammate ever and always the most energetic. I didn't take a day for granted because I knew what it was like to sit out for 18 months,
Yeah, yeah. That's like super amazing that you're able to, again, we're talking about this kind of frame shift or, change in mind about how you perceive the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Another thing I'm going to pull out of that conversation, which you weren't thinking about, but I just felt this, like, I was like, oh, this is good, is, so Jamie just spoke about injury, and she was talking about her left foot being re-broken multiple times. How do you think it is when you do something consistently that is not cultivating your health, but is injuring you?
Right.
With the example being the field of medicine, going and working in something that you do not love. So I mean, you'll jump in a second, but when you're constantly injuring yourself, Jamie, what was your solution after you injured yourself? What did you have to do?
I had to take a look at my values, actually. After I injured myself the second time, I realized like I was so dependent on playing again. I thought my whole identity was a different role than what I could recreate. You know what I mean? I thought my identity was playing and being in the best shape ever and whatever.
Yeah.
And what I needed to do after I rebroke it again was redefine my identity and see that I can also learn how to be a supporter and a learner and stuff like
Sure.
that. So that's what I
So,
needed.
and to put it back to the example, so
Right.
we need to not necessarily attach ourselves to this strict identity of who we are. And then the
Yeah.
other thing is healing a physical injury. What do you have to literally do to heal a physical injury?
Rest.
Rest. So one thing that people should consider when they're, trying to make these big decisions and changes is, how do you cultivate a rest time?
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. So I know it's kind of funny now I'm thinking about it, because I asked you this question where it didn't really apply to medicine, but all of a sudden, like, there's like 3 or 4
Yeah,
lessons.
I know. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking it can apply to medicine too. You're so right. Of just like the how pushing like I did, re-breaking it forever kept me out for longer. You know what I mean? By trying to stay in the game, I was kept out of the game. If I did say I need to rest, I need to take a step back, then I would have got back a lot sooner and I would have been able to pick it right back up. It is about that like self-care. And so like pushing, I guess in medicine, pushing and pushing, doing something that you don't like, feeling burnt out and whatever, that's not a sustainable path. It is really taking a step back, redefining your identity, redefining your values, and then being able to enter the game again,
Boom! Put that one on the billboard too.
Yep.
Now, to finish off, was there any parting words or statements that you want your, this entire medical community to hear, that you feel would have impact?
Oh, that's a big question to come up with on the spot.
I know, but you just feel it out.
I know. So just words that I would like the whole medical community to hear, sort of.
Yeah.
I guess it would be to embrace your creativity and what you love, and don't let medicine hijack it from us anymore. It feels so, the culture of medicine is so dependent on us being autonomous and creative and leading and doing the things that we love, which includes medicine, but being creative with it, I think.
Awesome. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jamie Katuna, soon to be medical student, soon to be public health servant, soon to be physician, and already an amazing individual who's creating her dreams actively, currently, right now. So thank you so much, Jamie.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me on.
And there you have it, folks. That's the end of the episode for today. If you want to check out any more material, go to www.thehappydoc.com. Also, if you'd like to provide feedback, ask any questions, please comment on the blog posts or send an email to thehappydoc1@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.